My friends, a lot to unpack in today's video, and I'm doing something very different. I've stopped making this type of video. I just don't see the utility behind it. It can be quite long, as well as the nature of these stories ever changing and evolving. What you're hearing one day might not necessarily be correct. And when you're hearing things from top sources, people that have connections in the actual industry, or former players or whatever, you're going to value what's being said. But today, my friends, I just decided, you know what? I don't care. If I'm right or wrong, so be it. Let me put this news out here. Let's have this conversation and let's get a deeper insight behind what is going on with all the targets we're looking to sign in this summer window. So I hope you guys stay with me. I hope you enjoy the video. Let's waste no more time and let's get straight into things. Quick little update on Liam Delap, but it seems like we're not giving enough credit to the importance of this signing. I'm hearing behind the scenes with the players, the coaches, there's a lot of big prospects and hope around Liam Delap. Cole Palmer even said on the arrival of Liam Delap coming back to the football club, now we're in business. He's really excited to play with him. He's played with him throughout his time at Man City's academy, and there's big hopes that he's going to really push us on and be an upgrade signing for us up front this summer. So it'll be really exciting to see what Liam does in the Club World Cup. We're hoping to secure at least 3 to 4 players in time for the Club World Cup. So that is one thing to stay tuned for. But I thought it'd be worth letting you guys know if you had any reservations on Liam Delap and his promise. Listen, the guys that matter the most, the players, the coaches, and everyone at the football club, they're gassed about this and they're expecting big things from Liam Delap. This takes us on to some great news that I've been hearing surrounding our efforts for Maignan, and essentially, we've secured this deal. This deal is going to get wrapped up. I've learned some interesting insight behind why things are longed out in the media right now, and we have to understand that the media game is important in terms of how clubs save face and how they market and show themselves. For example, I heard that because Sky Sports leaked out the Liam Delap's medical happening on Monday, like the second part of his medical, that kind of annoyed the club. So they purposely delayed his official presentation until some random time later during that week. So do not forget the power behind how clubs will also use the media for their own benefits. That's something that we can't forget. But in terms of Maignan, essentially, it's going to happen. Milan have accepted that he wants to go. He wants the project. He wants London. He's going nowhere else. And in terms of a final fee, I'm hearing it's going to be around 20 plus 5 million add-ons. Now, one of the reasons as to why Milan can't accept this too quickly is to essentially save face their own. Now, they're in a terrible financial situation. They have no European football. It's the same thing for Inter Milan as well. They can't afford to look weak. They've already taken a dramatic pay cut in regards to selling Rangers to Man City for way under the value they were initially hoping to get, because they don't have much bargaining power at this point in time. Allegri's not happy. He's tried to persuade the club to renegotiate new terms with Maignan, but at the same time, Milan's hands are kind of tied at this point in time. They've accepted that Mike wants us and he's not going anywhere else compared to signing for us. And this is going to be a big deal for us because this is a big deal for Enzo Maresca. Now, I've heard, listen, we've all heard this reports before that low-key Maresca said at the end of the season, well, actually, no, I'm providing you guys more insight. End of the season, he's like, listen, directors, board, no, if you want me to achieve the things you want me to bring here, I can't do it with certain players in certain positions. I can't do it with these goalkeepers. As we've all learned, he needs goalkeepers that can distribute and play out from the back. And that is something we criminally lack. But we're going to get that in abundance with Maignan signing for us. So this is Maresca now starting to flex some of his power a little bit. If you guys been watching my previews last season, I kept saying, this is just PR Maresca. This is PR Maresca playing the game, looking to build leverage at this football club. He's here to just achieve the targets, yeah? Near the end, we played results-based football because he's thinking about the long term. He needs to be here. He wants to build. He wants to get more a say in terms of what he needs for himself at this football club. Expect to see some exciting things in terms of how we're going to develop under Maresca as well for next season. But my friends, Maignan is essentially our player right now. It's going to get secured and he will be coming in time for the Club World Cup. So that is definitely something to get excited for. But there is also some bad news. Really quickly, my guys, as I've been stressing, it's my first time using OBS to make these videos. It's still not perfect yet. I have to iterate it over time. I'll be adding the sound effects, adding a bit more polish, but I'm also working on like 5 projects outside the channel at the same time. It's a crazy period for myself right now, but Hugo Ekitike, from what I'm hearing, the deal's not going to happen. And essentially, it boils down to the price and the valuation. Now, we've seen some snippets already in the media. For example, when we made attempts to sign Ekitike in January with the first inquiries, we were getting quotes of 70 mil at the time. That's now jumped up by another 30 million to 100 mil. And the club are like, this type of money just doesn't make sense for us. Who knows if things possibly changed in the end, but I think one of the things that might push us away from this at the moment is that Ekitike, even though he wants to move, I'm learning that he's not as desperate as we first thought. It's more of, okay, if you can agree a term with Frankfurt, I'm open to this. But at the same time, I'm not desperate to leave Frankfurt. We have Champions League football. I'm okay to stay here for another season where I can assess even more options in the future. We know that Liverpool have shown a lot of interest in Ekitike. At the moment, they're getting Florian Wirtz. I'm also hearing Liverpool really love Rodrigo, so that's one thing to watch out for at the moment. But for the club's perspective, they think the money that Frankfurt want, it doesn't make sense for us, because if we're going to pay 100 mil, we're buying someone who is just out of this world, a bona fide superstar, yeah? That's the type of money that you pay for an Isak, for example. And I know that, you know, we've been hearing this thing about breaking the wage structure and flexibility. There is flexibility there for that particular type of player. If you somehow find out all of a sudden Isak's about, yep, that's the type of guy we think is worth paying that type of money for. But sadly, Newcastle got the last CL spot, which annoyed a lot of clubs. But regardless, Newcastle, I heard, value Isak so much that they would have just preferred to have sold Gordon if they had missed out on CL. So, positive news, we are willing to break the wage structure for the only right players. That doesn't mean Victor Osimhen. Many clubs don't think he's worth the value. That's just the reality at the moment. Victor, sorry to break that news. But for Ekitike at the moment, the move looks like it's ending because there's not much budge now from Frankfurt. Who knows? Again, this is at the time I'm saying this. Let's say after the Club World Cup, let's say Frankfurt decide we need to sell or we're not getting much competition for him. You know what I mean? But I think equally, they're in a position where they've got Marmoush money, they've got CL money right now. If they can keep their guy for another season and probably definitely get that 100 mil. So at the moment, that seems to be a move that might be ending, but that also brings up interesting possibilities for someone else. And at the moment, I've been told, don't fall asleep on our efforts for Victor Gyökeres. We've scouted this guy a million times already throughout the years. We all know this. In terms of his wages, they are within our structure, so there's no issue. And what I've heard is that in terms of a deal we would look to strike for his release clause, it wouldn't be paying it outright. It would be what we've infamously done under Clear Lake, and that is overpay the release clause and structure the deal that way. Now, what helps in our favor is we have a superb relationship with Sporting Lisbon, like a really, really strong one. We've seen that evidently in our moves to sign Asugo and Kenda. Kenda being the one to give us like a lot of goodwill with Sporting Lisbon because he was able to stay there for an additional season, of course, and they received great money for him. And we were willing to do that. They offered that to Man United. United said no. So Gyökeres, this is a move that will pick up some steam now, that will grow a little bit more. Gyökeres, of course, is interested in coming to the Premier League. Ideally, he wants to be playing in the Champions League. And I have to say, I've been watching Gyökeres now a lot more the last 3 days, keeping it real. I'm doing that now because I don't want to just like fall victim to having such strong ideas that you never want to like ever change them or consider them or think they can't be improved. Gyökeres, I think the guy looks like a great striker. I think what really moves me is his finishing technique. I mean, I might sound a bit mad. I'm going to sound a bit mad to some of you, but low key, I get this little like CR7 Ronaldo vibe in terms of the finishing with either foot, how he sets himself up to take his shots, how quickly he takes his shots as well, the precision behind it. I think the guy is a great striker. And I think when you're putting the numbers in like that in Portugal, yeah, I think when you're overachieving that much, I think that translates in any league you're set to play in. So pay attention to Victor Gyökeres. We didn't necessarily say no. Listen, we've said around Ekitike, we're not desperate. We're not going to just force this move like crazy because we don't think the value's there. That value is for players who are better. You pay Isak money, 100 mil plus. You're not paying that for Ekitike, no matter how good he is right now. So unless Frankfurt feel the need to sell or Ekitike really forces things, which he hasn't been doing, the club have other targets they're looking at. And I know Gyökeres is one to pay a lot of attention to. And this actually leads on to some updates on Nico Jackson. Now, with Nicholas, worst comes to worst, he remains, so be it. His future still remains this. If an offer comes in and it's really good, we'll accept it, we'll see what happens and do business. And I'm hearing actually, from what I was told, look at Aston Villa. Aston Villa are looking at Nicolas Jackson. Unai Emery was the guy to first introduce Nico to Villarreal. He gave him that first team debut. He bedded him into that team. At Nico's age right now, a move to Villa could make a lot of sense. You're playing week in, week out, more time to develop and grow. I think Nico will be that guy, but probably when he's like 25 to 27, which is still a few years off. Sadly for us, and here's how I'm seeing it, if I'm being brutally honest, because you guys know I've been backing Nico Jackson. I rate Nicolas Jackson. I like this guy, but I'm at a point where I'm feeling a bit selfish. I want to win. I want to win, yeah? I'm guilty. I want to see us lifting silverware more consistently now. If I'm seeing certain guys in this development path like your Palmers and Enzos and Caicedos and co, now progressing and developing a lot faster, I don't need to wait for the rest of this 25-man squad to catch up to them. If half these guys are closer and already there, let's accelerate things by getting the quality now to support those types of guys, yeah? I can't believe I'm saying this. Last year, I would not have said this. This year, my opinion's different. If the money's good for Nico Jackson, let's see what happens. But personally, I think it's a bit risky because if we do sign another striker and Nico doesn't get a move, who knows what's going to happen in that aspect, right? But to move on, we have a few other stories, of course, worth discussing. And there are some interesting developments around Kudus and Rodrigo. Okay, I can see why these transition pauses are really annoying. I'm going to try and fix this, you guys. I don't like doing it myself, but I actually have to because I'll give you guys the insight. YouTube at the moment, if you want to get like monetized, AI now dictates where the ads are placed, and it's really bad at putting ads in the right spot. So I'm not in control of them. This is all AI. So I have to dumb it down by just pausing for a second or two. So the system that Google have forced on us can separate when different stories are being discussed. That's the world we're living in right now, you guys. It is what it is. But moving on now to Mohamed Kudus. This is definitely one to watch because a lot of guys at this club, your Winsleys and co, they've been a big fan of Kudus. He's got a lot of support. That guy, Max First London, actually did release something good on Twitter where he said, Maresca wants to have this type of solution finder who can open the game up with his dribbling. Now, he's not that happy with the goalkeeper, as we know, but also the wingers. The stuff from Noni Madueke isn't great. And if the offer was right for Noni, the club would also accept. Maresca's thinking, listen, if I can have Esteval, if I can have a Kudus-like player, talks I'm hearing that Cole Palmer could potentially be moved out wide a little bit as well, because this is going to be music to everyone's ears. There is going to be more of an emphasis on positional rotation between players now. Thank God. I've been asking for this the entire time. Next season, it seems like that's going to happen. Neto, we have options there, but ideally we want to strengthen there. Gittins, let's see what happens with that. It seems like, based on reports coming from Germany, which I can't confirm, I'm only telling you guys what I've heard, those reports are saying that this deal could happen after the Club World Cup, which makes some sense. So it seems like Maresca will get some real strength in the winger department next season. And at the moment, Kudus is seen as someone that is realistic, because West Ham have offered us, that is true. But the crazy key thing behind this is actually Robert Sanchez and also the goalkeeper coach and Ben Roberts, because Maresca said, listen, this whole dynamic has to go next season. I don't want Ben Roberts here. I don't need Robert Sanchez. I need upgrades. We know that Graham Potter's had a great relationship with Robert Sanchez. Already talks that West Ham could explore bringing Ben Roberts there for the coaching team under Graham Potter. Sanchez on good money at West Ham, staying in London. There's a lot of things that make sense behind this. And Kudus is seen as someone that you could get for less than the money that West Ham want. And there's a lot of complementary moving parts behind this deal right now. So that could be one of the key things that determines our success in securing him. So pay attention on Robert Sanchez and Kudus. I mean, come on. Maignan coming through essentially means that Sanchez will probably say, nah, I'm going to bounce. It's a good opportunity to go to West Ham, in my opinion. So let's continue to watch this space. And for the final one, my friends, and again, apologies for this transition, man. But there is good news, or I can't say good news, but promising news on Rodrigo. Now, it does look like this guy is bouncing. Now that Madrid are going to be capturing Franco Mastantuono. Again, what does this mean for Rodrigo's future? It's not saying much right now. Reports in Spain reveal that they want between 80 to 100 million already. So he's going to be a player that's about. The good thing I've heard is that out of all the options in the Premier League, because Man City isn't an option anymore, Liverpool is a strong one. Liverpool are going to spend this summer, yeah? Liverpool and their ownership, they've actually taken a lot of influence from what our club have done in terms of how they've structured deals. This is how they're going to fund a lot of these moves, right? But they're also looking at Rodrigo, and I'm sorry, I can't see Salah, Verts, and Rodrigo. That's nah, please. I can't be seeing that next season, man. I rate Liverpool though, because it's like when you win something, that's when you go even harder now. You don't stop, you don't rest. Push on right now. That's the moment you seize. I respect that. But in terms of Rodrigo, he would ideally prefer to come here because, as I heard, he wants to be playing alongside his little cousins Esteval Willian and Andre Santos. I also heard that he is the type of player that we feel would be worth stretching the wage bill for. I think he's earned it with the silverware he's won. The important thing is he's done, how good of a player he is as well. But that's a lot more difficult. And that is a move that's going to happen probably after the Club World Cup. But it's something the club are still paying watchful eyes and attention on. That is still something to pay attention on. No links have died around Rodrigo at this point in time. So it's really exciting developments that we're hearing right now. We're going to see some surprise exits from the football club. Maybe Gyökeres now is going to be that number one guy that comes here alongside Liam Delap. Could be a pretty interesting strike force, in my opinion, especially with the experience that Gyökeres comes with already. I'm probably going to do a video on him over the weekend, another reaction analysis, so stay tuned for that, my friends. And as I said, man, this is everything I've heard. Respect to my source for letting me know this. He was the guy that actually dropped to me the Sanchez thing and Kudus before it even came out in the press. So, yeah, I'm going to tell you guys what I've heard. Get involved in the comments, how you feeling, and see you guys in some more videos this weekend. Cool.